Welcome to Go and Glow, an inspiring show for the beautiful and brave with Natasha Cole.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Go and Glow project. I'm your host, Natasha Cole. Thank you so much for tuning in and downloading this episode. Today, we have a very special guest, and I'm really excited about this call. And, just to remind you guys that the Go and Glow project, as you already know, it's a platform for inspiration and resource to discover our passion and our purpose, and to just live out loud and to shine our lights and to do amazing things and have amazing experiences. And it's also an opportunity to highlight people who are shining their lights. So I'm excited to introduce a close friend who I deeply respect and admire, and she's just doing amazing things. She is a 2-time Tedx Speaker. She's an international teacher, writer, and blogger. She's the creator of the online academy for primary students called The Kid U, and she's currently living in Korea. I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Gahmya Drummond-Bey. Welcome to the show, Gahmya. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. I'm so excited to have this chance to have one of our talks shared with the world because they're just so awesome. And, whenever I talk to you, I have that feeling like I wish other people could hear this. So,
yes. Absolutely. I totally agree. I do. So thank you so much for calling in. And I know it's like 11:30 at night there, so I appreciate you staying up late and, just being generous with your time. So tell us a little bit about how you got to Korea and what's going on there, and just give us a little intro of who you are and how you got to be, an expat.
Wow. Well, the journey for me was quite interesting because I never really planned to live abroad or live an expat life. It didn't even seem like it was a life that was approachable for me. When I was younger, I lived in a small community where everyone seemed to kind of do the same things. Some people went to university, some people didn't. The people who did go to university, they went to like a local one and, they just came back home and did the same things. And I remember when I was, in middle school, I would sit and watch cars ride by, and I would imagine what their lives were like. If there was a mom and she looked like a businesswoman and she had her child in the car and it looked like she was taking that child to school or maybe picking them up, I would imagine, what did they do? What kind of job does that mom have? And, I realized that I wanted to experience more than my immediate surroundings. And I knew that I had to go somewhere, but I didn't really know where. And when I went to university, I was pre-med, and I was pre-med because I was good in math and science, and I wanted to help people. And when you're African American and you're good in math and science, people tell you to be a doctor, And so that's what I had planned to become. And I remember my last semester, I was just like, I have this fire inside of me. And I had a seminar with a professor who gave me some books. And one was Mountains Beyond Mountains by Tracy Kidder. And it was about this doctor, Paul Farmer, who he studied in university, but he also traveled to Africa, and he went door to door giving health care to different children. And I thought, man, if I'm a doctor, I want to be that kind of doctor. But I had never been outside of the States. So then I thought, okay, how can I get out of the States, So I wrote "Get Out of the States" on a piece of paper. And then I just spent so much time trying to figure out ways that I could live abroad, without any money. How can I go abroad without any money? I don't have any money. So the first thing that I found was the Peace Corps. And then I also found some grants. And I decided to join the Peace Corps and go and live in different villages and provide health care to different people. And that's what I did. And after that, I had the travel bug and I thought, okay, I still don't have any money. I've been volunteering. So I got my piece of paper out. This time it was a notebook. And I thought, okay, how can I stay abroad without any money? And I researched and found, wow, I could teach English and they would give me an airplane ticket and pay for my housing. And there's this cafe online. It's called Dave's ESL Cafe. And there's lots of information if anyone ever wants to teach abroad. And at that time, I honestly didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't think I would be good at teaching. I wasn't sure. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give myself a year to see it, sink or swim, and within that year, I'll write something else on a sheet of paper and see where I go from there. But that's how I ended up living and working in Korea.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I know about Dave's ESL Cafe. That's really, really cool. And I'm glad that you lived what you had written down and that you met those people so early in your life that really impacted how your future would turn out. So
yeah, and that was from a book, and for me, I believe books are unofficial mentors. And when I was younger, I didn't have people around me who I really saw as mentors. I didn't see people I wanted to be like or I wanted to follow, but I was an avid reader and I would really read about people and see them as my mentor. I made them my mentor. And in that book, Mountains Beyond Mountains, I made this guy who I've never met, Paul Farmer, my mentor. And I wrote down his journey. And I would find ways to kind of use his steps to guide my steps. And that was something that I did throughout my younger life is I would sometimes use books. I would sometimes use people who I would see at school, like upperclassmen who I admired, and they would become my unofficial mentors too. And I don't necessarily do that now because as an adult, I found I've met people who I can actually touch and admire, but I believe that you can always find a mentor and it doesn't have to be someone that you can touch right then. It's whoever you feel touches you, go and write down their steps and then use their steps as ways to guide your steps. And that's what I did.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had to do a project from a book that I read a couple years ago where I had to study and intimately get to know a visionary or a highly successful person. And I had to write down their career trajectory and how they handled failures as well as successes and, their upbringing. And, it was very interesting because then afterwards the assignment was to parallel, yourself with this person. What types of similarities, what types of differences did you have? And so I think that's really, really helpful to do when you're looking to, when you're inspired by a person or a person motivates you or you look up to them. So,
yeah. And, I would say, find that motivation because a lot of people may not have that motivation in their immediate surroundings, but you can find it. And even, on my headboard, it's so funny, but I have different quotes from random people or random books that I've read, and they're all over my headboard. And sometimes if I'm just not motivated to get out of bed, they're on Post-its, and I'll rip a Post-it down and I'll read it, and it'll say something like, if you want to be successful, you have to start now, or you can't, do you want to sleep through your success, and I use those things to motivate me because sometimes the motivation is not going to come through your friends, and it's not going to come through people or things that you expect it to come through. So you have to put it around yourself and put it in your environment. So that's still my way now of putting motivation in my immediate environment.
Absolutely. That's really, really fantastic, and that's great advice for everyone else who's listening. So, okay, so what then are you passionate about? I know you're passionate about education, but tell us a little bit about that. Like, how has that, impacted your experience in Korea, and how have you developed that passion, and where is it taking you?
So when I was in Turkmenistan, I was actually given the job of community health educator, and I was placed in this village, and I was supposed to work in a hospital that didn't have running water. We didn't have any resources. No one actually went there. And I thought, okay, this is my assignment. So I'm going to figure out how to do my assignment well. And some students who found out that there was an American in the village, they would come and they would knock on the door and say, "Oh, American, teach me English." And I would say, "No, that's not my assignment. I don't teach English. I'm not an English teacher. There are English teachers here, but I'm not one of them." And I would send them away. And then I would send them away, but I would still sit in this empty clinic with all of these books, and I would read and study and take notes and plan, and then students would come again, and then I would send them away. And then I realized, okay, wait, this assignment, this label that I have given myself is not serving anyone. And oftentimes that can be the case that limits us. We give ourselves these labels, this identity, and we say, "Oh, I am this person. This is what I do." And opportunities come to us constantly, and we push them away because that is not what we do, or that is not what we think we do. And we're limiting ourselves, and we're keeping ourselves stuck. So at that time, I said, okay, this isn't what I intended to do, but let me try. I don't know if I can be a teacher. I don't know if I'm good at it, but I'll at least try. So I decided to go out, and I didn't have any computers or anything like that. I seriously had a stick and dirt, and we would write different letters in the dirt, or I would just act things out and act really silly, and make up songs. And the students started learning, and they would walk for miles, seriously, to just have these classes with me. And then what happened was, because Turkmenistan is a post-Soviet country, there are secret police there who become afraid when people are becoming educated. So they began to threaten the students. If I see you around the American, your parents will lose their jobs, or they won't get their fulfillment of rice. So the students actually began to sneak to see me. And I would teach them at my house, and we would either meet really, really early in the morning or really, really late at night. And then I realized, oh man, this education stuff that I thought, I had worked too hard in university being pre-med to do, there is power in this. This is advocacy. This is something that people are risking their jobs for and their parents' jobs for. So I started teaching, and I learned about Korea. And Korea is an amazing place for pushing people to do more as far as learning more. But a lot of the students are extremely exhausted, and their level of creativity has been dimmed because they study so much. So when I got to Korea, I thought, okay, how can I make this fun? How can I use this level of pushing, students to learn more and reaching results, but also use the system that I learned in Korea, which is making something out of nothing, and engaging students enough so that they'll want to risk their parents' jobs, but still learn. How can I put those things together? And, that's what I've been doing, and it's been working in Korea. Parents, they come out, they request me, they're really excited about this way of teaching, and now I'm passionate about just spreading that to the world and putting a format online that will allow different parents from all over the world to create their own programs for their students, because education hasn't been remodeled or reformatted in at least 100 years. So we're teaching kids with an outdated system that doesn't serve them all around the world, So that's what I'm doing now. That's what I'm passionate about, being the person who has gone to different villages around the world and different locations and studied what kids like, how they play, how they learn, and saying, okay, guys, I will get you all together, and we can create the systems that we want. We can be the villages that create one village to actually teach the kids in our world. So that's what I'm focused on right now.
Absolutely. And you know what, when we met, I saw that spark in your eye, and just how, you're talking about education. I saw that face to face with you, that you were, extremely passionate about this, and that you live, eat, breathe, and sleep education. And also, I just really appreciate that you started Gahymya.com, because we're allowed to then come on that journey and literally be students in your classroom. So tell us a little bit about your website, and what you like to do with it, and how you use it to reach other people.
So Gahymya.com was kind of born out of my blog, which I just use to upload textbooks and things that I've created for different academies, because I realized that there were some teachers and parents in Korea who wanted to use the stuff that I use in my academy. So I would upload things, and people would become really excited about it, and they would ask me, okay, what are you doing in that class? Because I would put videos up, and they would say, how can I have that? How can I have that book? How can I mimic this lesson? So I created a Naver. Naver is it's like the Google of Korea. So we have these blogs, but we have them on Naver. So I actually have a blog that's on Naver, and it's in Korean and English. But then I thought, okay, I need to have a .com, because I started having people from Vietnam, Japan, and China who also wanted to have my materials. So Gahymya.com was actually born from the Naver blog, so that other Asian countries could benefit from the same resources. But now, Gahymya.com is actually going to change into the Kid U, which is the online university. So it's been amazing to see how just a little blog has grown into the .com and now the online university. And it all just started from me just wanting to share stuff, hey, here's something that I made. Here's a worksheet. Maybe you want it. Because so many share sites are, you have to pay for them, or they're boring, I hand draw or hand color a lot of my worksheets because kids like color, and I think a lot of the times people forget the kids. They forget the person who's on the receiving end, and it becomes all about the material. And that's great. The material is important, but there's a person on the other side of the material. And being that I'm always around kids, I become their friend, and I become the person that they talk to. And so I hear them when they say, oh man, I this is boring, or I don't want to go home and do this work, it's not fun, or I don't see the point, it's pointless. And I think this should be the time when we lose the notion that you should just continue to study things that no longer serve you, because now education is at our fingertips. Seriously, we can upload anything off of YouTube, and students can learn from it. People can actually craft what they want to learn and put it together. So we don't need these outdated, just these resources that were used for our parents and our parents' parents for kids who can basically create their own programs at the touch of a button. So that's what the Kid U is about. It's about allowing kids to learn what they want to learn, but have a way to put what they want to learn in an actual curriculum and learn what they're passionate about, or find out what that even means.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really happy that I got you on this interview, because of course, I worked in education for many years, and I just want to inspire other teachers to just get out of the box and create their own curriculums. I know here in the States, we don't have a lot of freedom to do that. And so I wanted to reach out to you because you're doing so many amazing things. And, you shared with us some of the programs and the projects that you're working on. And I just think it's phenomenal. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the university and, your plans for this project for the next 5 years. I know you've shared them with me, and I think it's fantastic. But for our listeners who may be in the education field or still in the classroom, what kind of possibilities can they create for themselves in terms of a business owner? Just tell us a little bit about your plans.
So my plan for the university, it's university with YOU, so it focuses on the actual person and what they want. And the kid version of the university will launch in November. And the cool thing about the kid university is that it has a portion for parents, the parent circle. And what the parent circle does is it allows for parents to connect and create their own villages based on their ideals for their children's education. So, for example, if you're homeschoolers in Miami and you want to find other homeschoolers in Miami who want to teach their kids how to manifest, what that means, but learn that by using short vowel sounds, or how to create their life vision through the program, The Dream Note, which is an interactive program that is a part of KidU, or to how to meet other young kid entrepreneurs, and what that means and what types of jobs that aren't necessarily the mainstream jobs, which types of those jobs are available to young kids to actually start on their own, like having their own lemonade stand, or even some kids I met who are card readers and they teach other people how to tell fortunes and things like that. So what you can do is use the curriculum that you feel comfortable with, but also create the semester plan with other parents, and then coordinate with other parents who have similar visions as yourself. So it's kind of like our way of allowing people to create the villages that they want their children to be educated in. The KidU also allows kids to click different courses that they're interested in and put them into what is like their education cloud. And the courses will separate by class, and it's sort of like an email system, but it will go out to them each week, and they can basically create their class schedule, which is really fun. And the next year, the following November, we will open the Teen U, which is sort of a similar thing for teens, but it will teach them how to recognize their passions. What does that mean? How to become a young entrepreneur. And even there's a portion that is African American studies, but it's African American studies that has an interactive map where you can click on different places around the world and hear from different African Americans about how they've moved to that part of the world and what got them there and what they do there to inspire young African American students to travel more. And also, as a part of that program, there are etiquette classes for young girls, and it's just the system that I believe shows how I think education is moving forward. And the academy, the third year, the academy will evolve into BizU, the Biz University, which will focus on business, because I really believe that even education as far as universities is overpriced and outdated. And I don't believe that an 18-year-old can really benefit from the actual learning material as at a university by sitting in classes surrounded by other confused 18-year-olds and having study groups with other confused 18-year-olds, and benefit from someone who can take classes provided by entrepreneurs who are actually out there doing what they want to do, who can say, okay, you're 18. This is what I wish I'd done when I was 18. In fact, this is what you can do now when you're 18, instead of studying and reading about it and talking about it with other 18-year-olds. And I also don't think that it continues to serve students of today who, for example, live in Canada or even Asia or Europe, who want to study in the States or want to have a creative curriculum but have to save up and move away from home and travel to another country to receive the foundation of education that they may not even use before they go out into the real world. So I believe that this online university for younger people, I believe this is the way that education is going, because it's already at our fingertips. The issue now is that it isn't organized and it isn't put in a way that allows people to build a sense of community. So in the next 5 to 10 years, I believe that that's where education is going to go. And I hope that teachers who are in the States, even though they may not have as much control over what is actually taught in their classroom as far as how they fulfill different testing guidelines, I do believe that they have control over the way that they teach that material and starting to empower students to focus on how they want to feel, and asking different questions instead of what do you want to be when you grow up? How do you want to feel when you grow up? What type of life do you want to have when you grow up? Because the thing is, when you're young, you don't really know what types of paths are out there. And you also don't know that you can create your path like what I have done and what you are doing. You can create the path that you want to have in life based on the feelings that you want to have and the lifestyles that you want to have. So I hope that American teachers are starting to change the conversations that take place in their classrooms, and empowering their kids to know that, knowledge can get to you a lot faster than it could have when I was young. And if there's something that you want to learn, if you want to learn how to be an amazing French chef, you can Google that right now. You can look at YouTube videos, you can connect to people within 5 seconds. You can start to create your reality a lot faster than you could have before. And I hope that teachers start to empower their students that way.
That is so awesome. I've described you to people as like the connector, the curator, the entrepreneur, the creator. I'm serious, of like all of these really cool educational ideas, and I admire you and respect you for that. And just like you say, changing the landscape of what education looks like, and particularly online education. So yeah, I'm grateful that you're sharing, the possibilities that you can create. Okay, so another thing that I'm really, really excited for you to share with us is your experience of being a Tedx speaker. That, I don't even know if that was like, just the highest point of your career, but that is so exciting. When I saw that you had the opportunity to do it, not once, but twice, right?
Yeah.
I just thought, oh my God, that's so incredible. Look at the platform you get to have to share your ideas, and I love what you spoke about. So tell us a little bit about that and that opportunity, and what was it like to do that, and how did you receive that?
Wow, well, what's funny is I am so introverted, and I was never interested in speaking or having the sort of platform that a speaker has. I was always interested in being behind the scenes, as a writer or a coach for other speakers. When the thing is, the reason why the opportunity came up, and I think this is useful for other people who are interested in doing a TEDx, is that I speak Korean and I write in Korean, and I formed a community within my immediate community. And I think that's important for people who want to know, how do I get my information out there? How do people know about me? It's just start to create a community within your community, create a tribe, be a person that other people like to receive information from or share their information with. And also on the TEDx site, there is a map of the world, and you can click on anywhere on the map, and you can see where the next TEDx event is and what the theme of the event is. And if there is a theme that actually fits or connects with your story or your message or your platform, you can send your information to them and say, hey, I have something that will really serve what the event that you're going to have, and you can see if they receive that or not. So anyways, the first TEDx that I did, the talk was about the new normal. And I really connected with that because in Korea, it is really frowned upon to be anything that is perceived as not the norm. And it's this image of, if there are a bunch of nails and there's one nail head that stands up, a bit too tall, then it's knocked down to be at the same level as the other nails. And so I thought, man, I should really speak at this event. But I thought, when you speak, you really put yourself out there. And in Korea, Gahymya really had this pristine image, this perfect, fun, happy teacher. And I thought, oh man, if I talk about anything that makes me anything but normal, would it hurt my platform? And would it push my Korean counterparts to see me in a tarnished light? And so, I decided, well, I want to be someone to encourage other people to tell their stories and, to be their highest selves. And I feel like if I don't share myself, and share my story, then there'll be this sort of blockage. And it often is if there's a coach or someone who one may feel is inauthentic, it may be because they have this block, because they haven't necessarily shared enough of themselves yet. And I really believe that's like the rite of passage, that you have to share your message, or really free your inner self if you want to work in any type of form of service, where you really have to connect with people. And so I thought, okay, I have to do this, because if not, there's going to be a part of me that is untouchable. And I work with little kids. I promote education, but I promote touchable, hands-on education. So there cannot be a part of me that has a block or a wall up. So my first talk was about things that I learned from my schizophrenic mother. And before I did that, I Googled that, and I thought, man, is there anything about schizophrenia? And there was one woman who had actually done a TED, and she's schizophrenic, but there wasn't much out there. And especially in the Black community, I didn't see any information even about schizophrenia, but I know that 50% of homeless minorities and even substance abusers are in fact people who have schizophrenia or some sense of mental health issue. But it's untouched in our community. It's kind of like, okay, well, that person has an addiction, or that person has, that person's homeless, but we don't necessarily ask the why or the how questions, So I thought, okay, I have to be the person to share this, and not share it in a way that, it's just, this is what it is and this is what it means. But hey, this is what I've learned from this person, because I really believe that every moment is a teaching moment and a teachable moment. So that's what that talk was about. And what was amazing for me, because I didn't, when it became closer to my time to speak, I was just like, why am I doing this? I don't want to be a speaker. But after it was over, so many of there were some teenagers, Korean teenagers in the crowd, and they came up to me, and a couple of them actually shared with me that they had schizophrenic parents, and they said, I could never talk about this, with anyone, because we're not supposed to talk about things that aren't normal. And even a woman who I'd been talking to throughout the day, another teacher, said that her mother also had schizophrenia. And she just said, wow, just having you share a story in another language, but in a way that could connect with people cross-culturally was amazing. And I think when you really share your core message, from your inner self, you can cross so many barriers. You can cross language barriers. You can cross cultural barriers, because that passion, and that truth, that is what reaches its hand out and shakes hands with the listener. And I mean, the next TED, it was, just the part 2 of that. And now I'm really grateful to have had those experiences.
Yeah, it was really incredible for me to see you on that stage, especially because I know you, and I was just so proud of you. And I thought, how generous was it of you to share such a personal, intimate story about your life, and again, and how that's going to impact so many people who, don't have the words for it, or don't, they're afraid to share, that part of themselves or about their family. So,
right.
Yeah, I really thought, I thought it was incredible. So what's next?
I have a couple of books that I'm working on that I plan on publishing by the end of the year. And this year I'm actually focusing on a North Korean millennial and helping her to create her book about her escape from North Korea. And I'm helping her to create her speeches so that she can prepare to give TED Talks in English. So now, after my experience in Turkmenistan and just living abroad, I've realized that a part of my walk is to help other people to share their stories and to shine their light when it's comes to having a transformational story that they want to share with the world. And because I speak 5 languages, so that I believe that linguistics really helps me to help people who speak foreign languages that are not English. So I don't want to say foreign language, because foreign language depends on where you are. So who are not native English speakers, to actually share their thoughts and opinions in English, but also say it in the ways that still connect with their culture, and with their hearts. So that's what I'm doing now, just really helping other people. And I believe that may have been the reason why I was given that first TED, to allow myself to share my story and release myself so that I can help other people to share theirs.
Absolutely. What book are you reading right now? Or what is a book that we should read? Maybe your favorite book or author?
My favorite author is actually Ayn Rand. And my favorite book is The Fountainhead. And I'm right now, I'm actually reading like 3 books. I always read one book for inspiration. I read another book for business, and then I read another one that I'm curious about. This month, I figured that I needed to learn more about copyright, and how to engage people when I write things that aren't creative. So now I'm reading a book about copyright. And every month I choose something that I need to be stronger in or learn, and I find a program or a book about it, and I add that to my reading list.
Great. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. So what advice could you give your 23-year-old self, and the 23-year-old girl who's just graduating college and is a little indecisive on what path to take, and she kind of just wants to fit in and she wants to be normal? what kind of advice, because I think you're the perfect person to give advice about not being normal and not trying to fit in. What advice would you give her?
Instead of giving the advice to my 23-year-old self, I'll allow my 23-year-old self to give the advice right back to me. Because one thing that I believe is that when we're younger, we are equipped with so much knowledge and intuition, but we learn not to trust it, and oftentimes when we grow older, we have to unlearn that, and become confident again. And oftentimes in life, I'll do something like talk to someone I hadn't been talking to before, and say, man, I knew that it was going to be like this when I was like 21. I told myself this. Why am I going back, into that habit? So I really trust my younger self because I really made great decisions as a 20-year-old, being so connected with my inner self. And when I turned 20, I had this rule that I made, and it was called keeping my 20s to myself. And I would share this rule with my friends, and I'm so adamant about it, but I believe that my 20s would be my best years, and they would be my time to be selfish, but selfish not in just not sharing or being greedy, but selfish meaning I would just solely connect to myself, to who I am and who I want to be. And that rule applied to dating. I wasn't interested in marriage or anything serious. I was interested in friendship and communicating and fun, but really in finding my path, and wherever that may be, I would say yes to myself as much as I could. And so if an opportunity came, or if an opportunity that I wanted to have didn't necessarily come, I would try to make it happen. I would write it down, and then I would research all of the ways that I could make it a possibility. And that's the advice that I would share with other 23-year-olds or anyone in their 20s is, hey, right now, I won't say it's the golden years because I don't believe that. I believe the gold is something that you always have as long as you continue to learn and thrive and evolve. But I do believe that this is a time to be selfish and not worry about it. This is a time to connect with yourself and say yes to yourself over and over and over, and not worry about, oh, well, if I go away, I won't meet a man, or if I go away, I won't have any friends, because it's not true. Anytime you evolve and love on yourself, that love shines and men are attracted to it. Other people are attracted to it. You go and glow. So that's my advice. It's to really allow yourself to shine. But in order to shine, you have to be the first person to say yes to yourself if you want other people to say yes to you too.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is, I'm receiving that. I'm receiving that as a 33-year-old woman. That is, that is so true. And people don't understand that. Like your self-talk, the way that you talk to yourself, and, even the way that you treat your body, and, the way that you treat your mind, like that's how other people are going to treat you. And that's so true. If you don't love yourself first, and I like how you said it, love on yourself first, oh man, you cannot receive love from anyone else because no one sees it in you first. Right. Yeah. And I love that. Keeping your 20s to yourself. That is, I'm gonna tweet that out as a quote from you. I love that. I love that. And you know what? I have a younger sister. She's in her 20s, and I think she'll really be able to appreciate that. So thank you. This is real advice. How do you serve yourself? Like, you have this insane schedule. You're traveling around the world, and I just saw that you were in San Diego a couple of months ago, and Korea, and I know you're going home to the States to visit your family soon. And you're just doing so much. How do you find time to take care of Mia? Like, how do you serve yourself? Is it through meditation? Is it through exercise or yoga, or what do you do? Traveling? What?
Man, I would say one way that I serve myself is by doing stuff that makes me happy. I don't have a job that I'm annoyed to go to, and when I stay awake at night to work, it's because it's fun to me and I enjoy it and I'm excited about it. And that just really feeds me, and gives me so much energy. I also, it's something that my friends joke about, but if I have an idea or something that I want to do, I go with it. If I say, hey, I actually did say this a couple of weeks ago, but for Christmas, I want to go to Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. Okay, so I'm going to make that happen, and that's what I do. I always take vacations. I always take a great summer vacation, a great winter vacation. When I take a vacation, I always research what can I do there, what can I buy there, what can I receive there, because I love shopping. I'm a girly girl. I love colors. I love fashion, and I allow myself to play. Sometimes I have photo shoots just because I feel like having a photo shoot. And I engage in play, I do some acting, and I do it because I think it will be a fun new experience, and I'm all about experiencing life. And sometimes I do photo shoots for photographers just to help them with their portfolio, because that's another fun life experience. And I think that's one great way that I serve myself, is that I continuously give myself new experiences. And, even if it seems scary at first, I paraglide, I scuba dive, and I just learned how to swim a couple of years ago, so it isn't like I'm, a pro swimmer or anything, but just giving yourself the yes to try things, and I think oftentimes we're afraid. We think that's what rich people do. And, when I was younger, this was my self-talk, and I had to change it, because I believe that traveling or doing certain things were a luxury, and I thought, no, I don't have time for that. I have to hustle hard. I have to go to college and then find a corporate job that is guaranteed, which is why I wanted to be a doctor. You study, you become a doctor, you have a job, so that was my self-talk, and then I realized that no, this is a luxury of yes, when you say yes to yourself, that is a luxury. If you want to travel, there are so many ways to travel, and it's not expensive, like you can save up $300 and go to Aruba or DR from the States, and you don't have to stay in a resort. You can have so much fun staying in a hostel, backpacking with people who are all over the world, coming from all over the world. So I believe that learning that the luxury, it already resides in you. You just have to allow yourself to believe that you deserve it, and that you don't have to come from a certain background, or economic status, or have a certain family to deserve a luxurious life. And I think sometimes people become confused with luxurious things and a luxurious life,
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big thing there too, but that's how I serve myself. I serve myself by allowing myself to indulge in life.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm doing this, my fiance and I are doing this program right now. It's a personal development program, and I won't get into it, but we had to kind of discuss some of our beliefs, our inherent beliefs, from when we were younger, and one of them for me was that I think that, like you say, money and adventure and traveling was only the opportunity of a rich person,
right?
And we we had to build affirmations around that to sort of reverse that thinking.
Right.
And so, and last year I learned about playing, like the term playing, and just wanting to go out and play a little bit. And so I've definitely incorporated the same ideas in my lifestyle as well. And, skydiving, and like you say, I've done a little bit of acting. Like I just want to experience the things that, I always thought was cool, or I have in, or, that I was too afraid to do in my early 20s. So, yeah.
Right. And one thing that I've learned is that if if you're just starting out, and you say you're 23 and, you don't necessarily know who you are yet, but you know kind of who you think you want to be in the world. You don't know what job you want to have, but you want to be a leader in that job. I really believe in owning that position, because one thing that I've learned is that if you believe it, other people will believe it too. And then once other people believe it, you really start to believe it, And so if you stand up in the world, like really stand in who you are and say, I'm a writer, put it on Facebook. What's your job? Writer, and then start doing that. You'll start getting writing opportunities even before you published your first blog post, and a lot of things in life are all just about giving your order to the world, telling the universe who you are, telling other people who you are, who you plan on being, instead of holding it inside and waiting for an opportunity to miraculous come. Sometimes you have to send for it.
Absolutely. I agree. You have, the word is very powerful. If you create the word, then you are so,
Right,
so
right.
I absolutely believe in that. I do. So, okay, as a young woman in her early 30s, what do you know for sure?
I know for sure that our ability to breathe and exist is not for free. And I know for sure that it is the duty of each and every one of us to go out there and give what it is in us to give in the world to pay for our existence. So I believe that someone out there is waiting to receive what each and every one of us has to give. And if we don't do it, if we hold back, if we allow ourselves to be mediocre, there's someone out there being disappointed who won't get what they need. So what I know for sure is that every time you breathe, every time I breathe, there's currency and there's life currency that we have to give for that, and I try to keep that with me every day.
Wow. Sounds like you've just got so much going on, and your future is really bright. What's on your bucket list? I know that you have a different perspective about bucket lists, and we both have a mutual friend that has a crazy ass list, which I think is just a hoot, and it's hilarious, and I love it. So I'm interested in your perspective as well. What do you think about things to do lists or dreaming big lists?
Yeah, I actually don't believe in the bucket list. I really don't. I believe that when people create bucket lists, they become intimidating and overwhelming, and it just becomes a list of things that most people never conquer. And so what I do is I have a right now list, and I really believe in action steps. So I'll write a goal that I want to reach, and it may be 1 year from now, 2 or 3 years from now, and I'll actually put the monthly steps that I want to take to get there, So even for my website, okay, I'm going to start with a blog. And then after I start with a blog, I'll do a .com, and after I do a .com, I'll, do this for my finances to make sure that, so I'll have the different steps to actually attain a goal. But I'm grateful that because I actively say yes to myself, I actively do things so that I don't have to have a bucket list. But I think that's why, because I just don't write a list and keep it on a sheet of paper. I do love lists, and I use Post-its to make my list, and I put them all over the wall, and I color coordinate them. But they are lists like for my month, so I'll write the month of June on a Post-it and put it in the middle of my wall. And then maybe I'll use a yellow Post-it. And these are all of the things that I'm going to do to encourage financial growth this month, and I'll put those on yellow, and each thing that I'll do each week. So it'll be 4, and then I'll get pink ones. Okay. These are the things that I'm going to do to, enhance my friendships this month. So I'll use a pink one for each week. I'm going to call this friend, I'm going to organize this social, because I believe in strong friendships. So I actively put that on my to-do list to, I do things in relationships. This is what I'm going to do to enhance my relationship. Maybe that's on the purple post-its. This is what I'm going to do each week. This is what I'm going to do each week for my business. And I have post-its all over my wall. It looks like, an insane person sometimes, but I even put my morning runs, my Pilates. And I love when I come home at night and I get to snatch those post-its off the wall. I feel like I've really accomplished something. And that's how I do lists.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you so much for, just sharing your story and shining your light on us and just being awesome. And I want people to be able to connect with you after this interview. So how can they, watch your videos? How can they visit your blog? Any kind of social media that you want to share with us? How can people connect with your story and your journey? And also, how can people book you for speaking events?
Yeah, so I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Instagram under Gahymya, and Twitter as well, Gahymya. And people can also go to gahymya.com and find some information about me. Or in November, when people really want to be motivated or help to influence other young minds around them, the Kid U will launch, and I really welcome everyone to come and be a part of the village that will now help us to raise and educate great young minds around the world.
Awesome. That is fantastic. And I just want to make note that it's Gahymya, and the Mia is spelled M-Y-A.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep. You're so welcome. Okay. Well, I'm so, honored and happy that you were generous with your time, and I know you've got to get to sleep. And, thank you so much again for just going and glowing in the world. And I'm excited, and I look forward to, supporting your projects and just seeing you on that stage again. And you're very inspiring to me. And we will meet up in the world again at some point.
Yes, for sure.
We were together in Indonesia, so I'm really excited to see you face to face again. And I wish you nothing but love and light in your life.
Thank you. Thank you. Right back at you.
Thank you. And to my listeners, again, thank you for listening to this podcast. Share it with all of your friends. Share it with your teachers and your education friends. And also, if you haven't visited my blog, it's goandglowproject.com. I'm also on YouTube. I have a TV series, so that's Go and Glow TV, and that's at youtube.com/goandglowproject. And I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at goandglow_. So look for our entire project. We are wanting to highlight women like Gahmya who, they're just traveling and giving back and doing amazing things with their lives and running businesses and, just empowering people. So if you would like to be a part of the project, or if you know someone, you can contact me through my blog or, follow our journey and let's connect, and I'll be excited to meet you and talk to you. Until the next time we speak, go and glow.